Our next speaker was formerly the head of strategy at Jagex and is currently the managing director of Target Games, my friend Oliver KERN.
Thank you, Scott. Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. I think this is a wonderful location. I'm especially glad, even though I am German, that Casual Connect has returned to Amsterdam. I remember 2006, 2007, I think even 2008, but I'm not sure. It was at the Rode Hoed, also here in Amsterdam. A tiny place in comparison, jam-packed with people spilling out on the street. You had to have a meeting in a nearby coffee place because there was just no space anywhere. Obviously, the conference has evolved and changed, and now it's this huge location. And when I heard about it, I thought, like, whoa, okay, this is similar to Hamburg. Everybody will feel like nobody's there, but it's amazing to see such a great turnout. Yeah, and I'm excited because for me, it's probably like a 15-minute train ride and 5 minutes by bike, because I live in Haarlem, quite close. And I want to talk about self-publishing and in the field of mobile games. So now let's see if this works. Yeah. Okay, so this is kind of my personal tag cloud, I would say. A lot about games, a lot about mobile. There is marketing in there, strategy, monetization, some game titles, user acquisition, Facebook, all those kind of things. And yeah, that's basically me. So I'm a consultant, and I help mobile game developers who are thinking about self-publishing, and I help them to understand what it takes, where they need to be in order to realistically publish games themselves, and what it means and what kind of tools they should consider, what their setup is. And I'm not just a consultant who hands over a big expensive piece of paper, but I'm normally somebody who goes in and then kickstarts marketing together with the developer, and also helps them hire the right people for a very small and efficient marketing team. So I'm going to talk about self-publishing, and the big thing that I've seen, and the big challenge for many, many developers, especially if you come from a work-for-hire background, is that it's a very, very different mindset and a very, very different setup. So it is really about launching fast and then iterating quickly. There is this wonderful quote. So I am using some quotes, but these are different people. So Reid Hoffman said, if you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you probably launched too late. And I think there is a lot of truth in there. And if you look at the main difference when you come from work for hire, what is the goal there? The goal is to complete your project as soon as possible, because that delivers you the margin that you're hoping to achieve. And then there is the publisher who will hit you and hit you and hit you until your margin kind of vanishes. But at the end of the day, they will approve, and then project done. Off to the next one. Now, for self-publishing, that just doesn't work at all. That approach is completely wrong, and many people have not really realized that, because they launch an app and then never ever update that, not even once, as if they had were geniuses and they had their product right on day one. I think when it really comes to self-publishing, it is about launching your game as fast as ever possible, because it will also immediately help you to decide if you unfortunately have to kill it. And that's not a bad thing. You've learned something on the way there. And if you launch it fast and you're embarrassed, maybe then also the emotional attachment is not so much that you can actually let it go a bit easier. And the big thing is you have to plan for iterating it and iterating it and iterating it. If it has the potential, then you want to bring it to that point where it delivers you basically the revenues that you want to see. So, yeah, when do you have to kill your game? I think there are some aspects that you have to have in mind. So if your game is basically targeting a very broad audience, super casual, you already see in a test market, okay, I have a high ARPU, the virality is relatively high. Well, you have the chances for a hit, definitely. If you're targeting a very, very niche audience, hopefully more than just yourself, and you have a high ARPU, you will probably have relatively low virality because it targets a niche audience, not everybody. I would call that like a hidden gem. And yeah, it's a gem. You can do something with it. It will just not probably reach the 50 million or 100 million downloads or something like that. But you know, if your ARPU is high enough, you can still, with the right audience, make good money. If you have a niche audience, low ARPU, low virality, everything sucks, yeah, you have to kill it, even if you love it. And this is probably the next one, one of those that you will see very, very often. Broad audience, low ARPU, low virality. There is lots of work to do because that's what you really have to focus on. You have to make sure that your virality goes up, your ARPU goes up, all of those things. Now, there are certainly thresholds. I'm happy to discuss that on a case-by-case basis. But yeah, overall, this is something where you have to decide, is it worth killing or is it worth keeping and really working and iterating on it. And then, yeah, broad audience, low ARPU, high virality. That means you know, there is potential there. It triggers a lot of people. You have to work carefully, potentially, on your monetization. See if you can make a little bit more money. Maybe you do add an advert somewhere if it makes sense or not. But you have to be careful to some degree. You don't want to break the experience, I'd say. So I want to talk when it comes to self-publishing, and many of you probably have done that, but I want to give some kind of best practice thoughts on the way. So John Romero, the creator of Doom, said at some point, in marketing, I've only seen one strategy that can't miss, and that is to market to your best customers first, your best prospects second, and the rest of the world last. I think there is a lot of that true in there, and yeah, you have to. What it means is you have to have an understanding of who your best customers are, besides your very, very close friends. And if you go into a test market, those are the ones that you want to target first. If you have an understanding of who should be enjoying this game, your test market is where you want to figure out that they definitely enjoy your game. And then you can continue to go for best prospects and maybe the rest of the world. So the usual questions when you go into the test market, and that's also a question that I do get from quite a few developers, is, okay, so how much budget do I need if I want to do like a test launch in some market? How much money do I need? I always ask back, what is the goal? Because I think that is what you want to be sure about. You want to understand, okay, what do I actually want to really, really get out of it? And I'll cover that. And yeah, I want to cover where do I find my best customers? And what is kind of best practice? What do I need in terms of tools and everything? So coming to that, I've mentioned some tools and helpers that basically give you a good overview. They are by no means complete. You probably have some there that you're working with. And if they do what they are supposed to do, that's great. I'm just trying to share, because I'm, in that sense, quite independent. I'm just trying to share. I've seen good results with these guys. It's up to you to basically decide if you also want to work with them or work with somebody else. That's totally up to you. When it comes to analytics, and that's why I put that top, those are kind of some of the partners that are definitely worth considering. because they give you the opportunity at a very, very cheap rate to understand how your game is basically performing. So Fuse Power just requires from you an advert in every session if you want their tools for free. But you can may as well use something like Mixpanel or Game Analytics. But you need something there for sure in your test launch as well as in your full launch. And you want something that will give you a very, very, very strong indication, especially of your retention rate. This is, from my experience, the key thing that you want to understand of a launch in the test market. You want to understand, are there 10% of players that I got who come back the next day, or are there 70%? These tools definitely provide that in a very sophisticated way. They allow you to basically build cohorts of your users so that you can see that in a non-aggregated way. Flurry and Google Analytics, however, are also nice to have because they give you another source of data. But what they don't have is that they will not allow you easily to get a sense of a daily cohort where you say, okay, the users that joined that day, how many of those came back the next day? You will always only see it on a very aggregate level. App Annie or Distimo, when you go into a test market, it's really nice to have. You should connect with them. When you're going into a full launch, when you're going across multiple operating systems, yeah, you should have something there because it just gives you easy access to a very, very fast overview. I personally think that Facebook Connect, especially in your test market, and I'll cover that why, is the must-have way to go, and in your full launch as well. I mean, the companies that I work with, I would say, somebody asked me earlier today, my guess is probably 70% of the advertising budget I spent with those guys. And the main reason was because I can target extremely well. If you come back to the Romero quote, yeah, it's about targeting exactly your customers first of all, and then start going a bit wider. Yeah, mobile app tracking, because you will want to, in a full launch, also acquire users potentially from some other sources. In a test market where we're only talking about maybe a couple of thousand of users max, it's nice to have. You don't really need that. You can do that with very limited sources. Once you go into a full launch, you should have that. Actually, I think it's a must-have because it allows you to very quickly connect with all sorts of advertising networks that you feel can deliver what you're looking for. And Chartboost, because they are not integrated with mobile app tracking, I do think in a test market, yeah, it would also be an option if you have somebody who you can exchange traffic with. It's definitely something to consider already at that early stage. For a full launch, I would say it's a should-have. So there are always some alternatives on the side, no doubt. There are many, many more mobile app tracking solutions. There are others similar to Chartboost. There are obviously all sorts of 450, I think I have a list somewhere, of ad networks. So you don't have to use Facebook if you don't want to. But this is my personal kind of best practice. And when it comes to which markets, yeah, if language matters, so you have, let's say, a word game or something where the English language really, really matters, yeah, you come to those usual suspects many people have heard about. Unfortunately, they are extremely expensive because many people have heard about them. So New Zealand, Australia, Canada, they are the countries where you have to go if language really, really, really matters. If language doesn't matter so much, don't go there. It's fucking expensive. So then you can choose Singapore, Norway. The Netherlands are even a very good test market. People speak English, understand English, are fine with an English game. Same for Norway, it's small. You still get enough data out of it. And then you have to look at, okay, I should have a goal in terms of my click-through rates when it comes to advertising. If you do Facebook advertising, make sure you get the right adverts there, you have the right landing page there, all those kind of things. That's, I mean, common knowledge nowadays, but I would always argue that you need to be above 2% because otherwise it means that your creative sucks or you're targeting the wrong people. And then, yeah, the big thing is, depending on the genre, what is your day 2 retention? That will show you, do people actually enjoy your game or don't they? So you've run through your test market scenario. Some companies stay in that stage with their game for even a couple of months and iterate and improve. And at some point they feel like, okay, now I'm there. And then the big question is, okay, who can help drive users? And I mean, my thing there is look for those that can really, really add value. If it's just like a number in their large catalog of all sorts of offers and adverts, etc., and they don't really care even what kind of game it is, they may not be the right partner for you. But here are kind of taking from mobile app tracking, and this is changes over time. So this is very, very recent. The top providers in terms of their reach, in terms of the installs that they drive for the different countries, and that's, I think, an interesting one because, you know, some people argue, okay, I only can work with a handful or with 1 or 2, and that's fine. You don't have to work with all 450, but depending on your markets, there are different players, and you have to be aware of them. And this is just, you know, if you go into mobile app tracking, you can actually filter those per country. And then you will see, okay, there is like Facebook, Playhaven, Tapjoy, which is mainly in send traffic. They will hate me for me saying that. SponsorPay, same thing. Get It focuses mainly on Google advertising. Nadigan's a preferred marketing developer. So again, it's Facebook traffic. Vangle, Video Ads, NativeX are here. InMobi are obviously here. Millennial, also a very, very big network. Now, in other countries, that will look different. So if your approach is, I'm going to go country by country, you have to figure out, okay, who are the partners that I should better work with in those different countries. And I think that's another thing why I think mobile app tracking is actually quite useful, because it definitely does give you a very, very good insight there, who to go with. One of the big things is if you're a developer, I've seen it very, very often from the work for hire mentality. It's like, okay, I have a certain amount of money, and I develop. I spend all my money to complete the game, and there's no more money left. There's no contingency, nothing. That's actually quite a bad plan, I think, especially if you assume that you may want to iterate your game a bit further, that you're not the genius that instantly has the big success. Here's an interesting quote, though, from a venture capitalist. Don't raise a lot of money, then you'll be on the express train. That is very, very true. So, you know, sometimes, even though it sounds sometimes maybe good to get a lot of money into your company, it may make sense to take the local train and go a bit slower. And once you have something really, really successful, people will knock on your door anyway and say, hey, you want to grow faster? I can help you. Then you're in a much better position. So if you feel you have a great game or are planning to build a great game, I think there are basically 2 options. Number one is you bootstrap mainly. You want to create a lifestyle business, meaning you want to do this company for the next 20, 30 years. Then there are some options, not sure in which country you are in, but there are certainly programs in the UK, in the Netherlands, in Finland, that support basically and fund production. So if they like your idea, they will basically give you, like a publisher, money to develop the game, and they will just not do the publishing. But it's a loan, and they will recoup first, basically. So you will still be able to make some money, but they obviously will want to make their money back as well. But it's a good way because you're not giving away any equity in your company. And if the game doesn't do well, it doesn't affect your company that badly. Then there are obviously like publishing and distribution opportunities. I mean, there are many, many, many publishers. You have to be careful that you get a good deal. And I would always advise to test something and know what you have in your hands before you carve a deal. Because if you don't know and they don't know what the game can potentially do, you're not likely to get a very, very good deal if you have a great game. The other alternative is that you're planning for an exit, basically. So that means you can take some venture capital. It means you give away equity for your company. So it's not a game-focused, one game-focused thing. It is basically giving away part of your company. So if you're planning to build a portfolio or those kind of things. So there are different seed and growth investors. And they are basically looking for track record. What have you done? Do you understand your business? How does the team look like? Does this have potential for business, and not only one game that may be successful or not? But it's a very valid option. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
One thing to keep in mind when doing special purpose vehicle style deals, like the different investors that Oliver was talking about, where they don't actually own the intellectual property rights, is that there are some cases where taking that money and tying yourself up with them will prevent you from being able to go and get institutional investments. So weigh your options very carefully, because the first kind of money that you take will dictate sometimes the other kinds of money
Absolutely.
that you can and cannot take. Oliver, I have a question for you. Thank you very much. This was an excellent presentation. And there's a meme in the core industry that lean doesn't work for hardcore games. And instead of launching quickly, what you'll see is a lot of qualitative testing and we'll ship it when it's ready mentality, because they feel that hardcore gamers are so
unforgiving.
Well, not only unforgiving, but also vocal within their own social circles, in that if they don't like what they smell on launch day, that it will kill you. Is that mentality when it comes, because you said if you're not embarrassed of your first launch, then you've launched too late. Is the meme that lean doesn't work for hardcore, is that a responsible meme? Is that an irresponsible meme?
Yeah, I think you have to weigh that. I mean, there is certainly something to be said in a core game. It is maybe slightly different, but at the end of the day, if the core experience is fun and great, I think it is still viable. And I mean, take a DayZ or something like that. There are certainly ways to even start with an unfinished game, right? So it's possible, but yeah, you have to be convinced that even though you're maybe personally embarrassed because you have a much bigger vision for your game, there is always the risk that you launch too late.
There's also what the evil geniuses at Uber Entertainment did. I might be forgetting the number, but it was something like $100 for beta access. So you can always position it that way.
True. Yeah.
Any questions for Oliver? Your talk was so good that you left everyone speechless. Thank you, Oliver.
Thank you.